Okay, here we are. Like I said, they really are living up to the Talmud. Juliana Margulies says entire black community may have been brainwashed to hate Jews. No, they just understand the history, the true history of how the Jews have always thought about blacks as a means to an end. As someone who plays a lesbian journalist on the morning show, I am more offended by it as a lesbian than I am as a Jew, the actress said at another point in a new interview. During a recent appearance on the Black Room with Andy Astroy, podcast actress Juliana Magelli made a series of provocative statements about black and queer people who've spoken out about Israel and Palestine that are just now reaching a fever pitch of attention across social media. There's a tweet from Sama Fadil. Listen to Julia Margulies go on an absolutely unhinged rant against black people for supporting Palestine, claiming Muslims would play soccer ball with the decapitated heads of black queer people if they could, and saying she knows better as someone who played a lesbian on TV. Now, I will say this, right? Arab Muslims do not like blacks, and that's just a fact in the Middle East. Okay, and they will call you. They have as much as a hatred as Jews um, have a hatred for blacks. They both do not like blacks. Not all, but most of them in the Middle East, yes, they do. Okay.
Rate the use
Those
of
it
pronouns.
it's those kids who are spewing this anti-Semitic hate that have no idea if they stepped foot in an Islamic country. These people who want us to call them they, them, or whatever they want us to call them, which I have respectfully
This though, I don't like the fact that they always have to include blacks and queers together. I really don't like that because the black struggle is completely different from the queer struggle. Okay, we're hated by the color of for the color of our skin. Queers are hated for their sexual preference.
whoever you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's those people that will be the first people beheaded and their heads played with a soccer ball,
Mm-hmm.
like a soccer ball on the field. There was a film being shown by this black lesbian club um, on Columbia campus, and they put signs up that said "No Jews allowed." And as someone who plays a lesbian journalist on the morning,
That was a lie. No Zionists allowed. Those who believe in Jewish supremacy, those who believe that uh, non-Jews are just cattle, the goyim. Okay, and as I said before, according to the Zohar and the Talmud, they believe that they will have a Messiah that will come at the end of time, and that Messiah will give each Jew um couple of non-Jewish slaves. Okay, that is Zionism, the Zohar. All right, that's what they believe. The Zohar is basically the Zohar and the Talmud is basically Jewish supremacy.
show, I am I'm more offended by it as a lesbian than I am as a Jew, to be honest with you, because I want to say to them, you fucking idiots. You don't exist. Like you're even lower than the Jews.
And in Israel, blacks are lower, are not even thought as human in the eyes of a Jew. Okay, as I've said, there a couple of years back, actually, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, there was an article showing about how in Israel, Ethiopian Jews were sterilized without their knowledge. Okay, and according to the Talmud, if you want to do harm to a non-Jew, do it without their knowledge, and that has happened. So she really doesn't make any sense. All you're thought of as lower than the Jew in the Middle East. But when you go to Israel, you're just as much disrespected by the Jews. In the episode, Ostroy began by asking Margulies about the Holocaust education program she started in 2021 to teach children about anti Semitism. I'm seeing it's clearly now that education is the most important part of a child's life, Margulies said. It plants the seed, it stops the ridiculous of, look, I'm not even a religious Jew. I wasn't even bat mitzvahed. If anything like this had happened in the black community, for example, 900 protesters left stranded on the tarmac in DC on their way to a rally because of all the bus drivers walked out. If that had happened to any marginalized community, this country would be in an uproar. But because it happened to the Jews, for some reason, it's laughable. Margulies seemed to be referencing an incident that took place in mid November with hundreds of members of the Detroit Jewish community who flew to Washington, D.C. to march in solidarity with Israel, said they were stymied by a malicious bus driver walked off that prevented or delayed many travelers from participating. I am the first person to jump up when something is wrong, as I think most Jews are, because we have been persecuted from the beginning of time, not just World War II, but literally from the beginning of time when we first lived in Israel, way before anybody else, Margulies said. What she's not really to talk about is the fact that the reason why you were persecuted in the Old Testament was the fact that you couldn't keep your God's laws. It's kind of why. I mean, that was the consequence for disobeying your God. He would basically hand you over to your enemies. Before one bomb was dropped on October 7th, before one bomb was dropped in retaliation for a brutal, barbaric attack, people were already on their bullhorns saying Jews deserved it. What? Where's your humanity? They put babies in ovens and killed them. The reason is people hate Jews, Ostroy said. Um, the thing is like, once again, she's not talking about that Talmud. Because if you read the Talmud, you'll understand why people do not like the Jews. I don't hate the Jews, but I just want her to be honest. Why do people hate the Jews? How do Jews treat the black athletes? How do Jews treat non-Jews, especially in business practices? What about that? The host had then briefly expounded on the pervasiveness of anti-Semitism before concluding, if we use the wrong pronouns on college campuses, there'd be an uproar. Oh my God, forget it, Margulies answered. It's those kids who are spewing this anti-Semitic hate that have no idea if they stepped foot in an Islamic country, these people want to call them they, them, or whatever they want us to call them. It's those people that will be the first to be people to behead, and they're beheaded, and their heads will be played with like a soccer ball on the field. And that's who they're supporting, terrorists who don't want women to have rights. Okay. The funny thing about that is that there's a Noahide movement that is growing. And many of you don't know about the Noahide movement. All right. And it's basically if you do not adhere to the laws of the Ten Commandments as ascribed to the Noahide laws, you will be put to death. Okay. And Trump signed those Noahide laws. Biden signed those Noahide laws. Every president since Jimmy Carter has signed those Noahide laws. Okay. So she talks about beheading. It's her people that will establish that are establishing that. Okay. Margulies, who stars as an anchor on Apple TV's The Morning Show, was also asked by Astroy to talk about a recent appearance she made at the Variety Hollywood and Anti-Semite Summit. At the event, Margulies talked about regretting her decision to wear a cross on her morning show character, Laura Peterson. Today, on the TV show, characters are not ever wearing the Star of David, Margulies said on the Variety panel. I regret that. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to be a lot more careful in the future. It's so easy to put on a cross. Why isn't it just so easy to put on a Star of David? The last thing I thought in my life was that I'd be the one actress speaking out for Jews, Margulies added on the Variety panel. Back on North Shore's podcast, Margulies asked the host if she had ever seen the Ken Burns documentary, The U.S. and the Holocaust. It should be mandatory watching, especially for the black community. If I may, because Hitler got his entire playbook from the Jim Crow South, Margulies said. Yeah, yeah, okay. But it's amazing that you want to force everybody to know about the Holocaust, but they're not forced to know about the Jews' participation in transatlantic slave trade. Hmm. They're not forced to understand that the Jews had it on lock in the South. They owned a lot of the slave plantations in the South. All right, owned a lot of slave plantations in Jamaica. All right, but if you talk about this, you're known as anti-Semitic. Interesting, very interesting. Let's look at this one right now. This new article. And she gets condemned for her shocking comments about the black and LGBTQ communities. This is one of the most racist things I've ever heard a celeb say in a very long time, one person wrote in a response. Julianna Margulies is being condemned for unhinged comments made about the black and LGBTQ communities while discussing the Israeli-Hamas conflict during a podcast. The ER and Good Wife star appeared on an episode of The Black Room with Andy Astra on the 21st of November, but soundbite from the recording has since gone viral on social media. As Margulies discussed her concerns surrounding the rise of anti-Semitism in the U.S., she went on to claim that the black and LGBTQ communities were not sufficiently supporting Israel in the wake of the 7th October attacks. Okay. It's almost as if, she wants to command them to support Israel, even though there's information coming out that Israel knew about the attack of Hamas for a year. They knew Hamas was coming to attack, and Israel did nothing about it. Also, the fact of the matter is that people know, there are people who know that this beef between Israel and Palestine has been going on way before October 7th. This has been going on since the late 1940s. Okay. And Israel has been mistreating the Palestinians to the point where they had to fight back, where they got fed up and tired. Okay. And the British government tried to intervene, and they tried to, make Israel play nice with the Palestinians. But what happened? The Israeli government created Irgun, a terrorist organization that started assassinating British officials. And they got fed up and they just left it in the hands of the UN. All right. And then the Russians gave Israel weapons, and they basically obliterated the Palestinians. Hence what we are going through today with the Palestinians. What we are seeing going on, I'm sorry. So don't let them lie to you about, this is October 7th. No, the Israeli government has been oppressing them for a very long time. Margulies cited times she previously supported both communities and blamed TikTok for what she believes to be the rise in anti-Israel sentiment among younger people. No, you blame TikTok because they're actually putting out credible information, giving an unbiased view of what's going on in Israel, between Israel and Palestine. All right? That's what you're really mad about. Margulies then suggested that these negative views come mainly from progressive young people within the LGBTQ and Black communities. The actor claimed that kids who use pronouns are spewing the anti-Semitic hate, remarking that who wants to call us them, they, them. All right. This is one of the most racist things I've ever heard a celeb say in a very long time. I actually am shocked at Kinder Kaji wrote with BBC reporter Richie Brave, adding, listen to this clip. you're even lower than the Jew is a really weird thing to say. Washington Post columnist Karen Attia wrote, I wish I could say that Julian Margulies' racist rant against black people is an outlier. But as I've said before, I've heard this same sentiment from supposedly liberal circles. Solidarity with black people is transactional. We're supposed to be grateful charity recipients. It's basically what it is. The Israel the Jews, this is how they view you. All right, non-Jews, they look at you as a cattle, and they feel that you owe them loyalty no matter what, no matter if they are actually the bad guy. If you look into history, you will see that Israel is the bad guy in this situation. Okay, and I'll show you some clips about what I mean. Here we go. This is what's going on with Israel and how they're treating African migrants in the Holy Land. Watch this. Fair use.
אני רואה חרא מחוץ לבית שלי, יריקות, פסיכופטים, אנשים שרק מחפשים איך לרצוח אותי בעיניים שלהם, אבל אף אחד לא מאמין לנו. אנחנו גזענים כדי לרצות לשמור על החיים שלנו ועל השפיות שלנו. אז אני גאה בלהיות גזענית, אם אני גזענית בשביל לשמור על החיים שלי, אז אני גאה.
While protests raged in the streets against the presence of asylum seekers from Africa, the man who held the power to determine their fate, Deputy Prime Minister Eli Yishai, demanded their expulsion.
אם ייתנו לי את כל הכלים, ואני פועל להשיג את כל הכלים, וזה לא קל. אם ייתנו לי את כל הכלים בלי יוצא מן הכלל, תוך פחות משנה לא יישאר בארץ ישראל אפילו מסתנן אחד.
And the few isolated Israelis who dared to protest, like this woman, were met with a harsh backlash.
May you be ashamed of yourselves. May you be raped. Wow. Who are you married to? Oh, here it comes. Here it comes.
תלכי מפה! תלכי! את תשועה עם קושי, לכי! לא מתביישת!
At the anti-African rallies we documented, one figure was ubiquitous, a member of Knesset named Michael Ben Ari. In August 2010, we interviewed him at his Knesset office.
יש להם שם בית. מה זה גירוש? איזה גירוש? הם שווים הביתה. כל מדינה בעולם מתוקנת הייתה עושה את זה. נהפוך להיות מדינת הגירה, אבל יש כאלה שעוינים את המדינה. ולכן הם רוצים להפוך אותה למדינת אזרחי כל העולם.
But you want, see, this is the fun fact about, this is the funny thing. They will kick you out of their place, but if you kick them out of your place, out of your country, you're anti-Semitic. This is how they feel. This is the entitlement. Now let's listen to a clip of Donald Sterling. All right. Let's go check that out. Here we go. Fair use.
You have a way of thinking.
It's the world. You go to Israel, the blacks are just treated like dogs.
So do you have to treat them like that too?
The white Jews, there's white Jews and black Jews. Do you understand?
And are the black Jews less than the white Jews?
100%, 50, 100%.
And is that right?
It is the question. We don't evaluate what's right and wrong. We live in a society. We live in a culture. We have to live within that culture.
But shouldn't we take a stand for what's wrong and be the change and the difference?
I don't want to change the culture because I can't. It's too big.
But you can
powerful.
change yourself.
I don't want to change it. If my girl can't do what I want, I don't want the girl. I'll find a girl that will do what I want.
You hear that? You hear that? That's how they act, man. All right. That's it. That's all I got for now. All I can say is that Julianna could, take her fake outrage and take it somewhere else. Okay? Because this black man is no dummy. I'm pretty much woke. And when I say woke, I'm hip to the tactics of white supremacy. That's what woke really means. Okay? It's not what the Republicans hijacked it to be. All right? And no, I'm not a Democrat. Both sides are disgusting. That's all I got to say for now. Anything you want to know about my channels in the description box? I have a Telegram, TikTok, Rumble. Anything you want to know about my links to where I'm at on social media is right there. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, people. Check me out on Telegram as well. Later.